that is one of the few examples of a system or body of knowledge that's almost very culture specific, both in terms of content, in terms of know-how. And I think that it could be a very, very powerful tool for education in terms of teaching music, teaching cultural awareness, and also destigmatizing abstract culture. I also believe that every culture has something that is different culture. Integration, cultural life. And I'm particularly fascinated by the concept of yes, basically Zimbabwe. And therefore, I think that Zimbabwe should have the respect of the people that part of the I've been doing Mbira for about 20 years now. Part of that was that I found Mbira very engaging, and I also felt that really I could give this answer message. Yeah, in fact, to me, emotional level is not much different. These kind of projects, and in fact, over the years, we have sort of overlapped in ways that either made things about Mbira or film. Over the years, I've collaborated with different musical genres. And one of the things that always came about was that the traditional Mbira has a fixed scale, which is has some limitations in the sense that some songs you can play on a Mbira, but you can't transpose them unless you tune the Mbira to a particular scale for that particular song. Over the years, I always wanted to have an instrument that could actually basically have the same latitude with what was able to do as many other instruments. I noticed, for example, when we did collaborations, that it was easy for a string instrument to collaborate with a Mbira or wind instrument. But if you were doing keyboard and piano, for example, you would have to respect the tuning system of the piano keyboard. And then over the years, I mean, like some years back, I went to Indonesia, and there they play gamelan. And I spent a few years studying gamelan and several trips to there. And I found that a lot of the issues of tuning and everything was the same as in Zimbabwe. The only remarkable difference was that the Indonesians, I think, since the 40s, had decided to formally investigate their traditional instruments. And then the results, they have many world-renowned colleges and universities that are dedicated to traditional practice. And through that exploration, I decided that the Mbira could not only be seen as a cultural artifact that was, kind of locked in a time frame, where like you can't change the Mbira, you can't do Mbira, you can't develop Mbira. And so I was always interested in seeing what other kinds of Mbiras you could make. I grew up on a lot of rock music and pop music, like any other sort of urban kid. And I found that there were songs that I could play on Mbira, popular songs like pop songs or rock songs or jazz songs. Some words, some didn't, some I had to play in a different key, but I wanted a Mbira that could play the songs in the same way that you could play. And then one day in a discussion with a friend of mine, um, he challenged me to produce a Mbira that could play the national anthem in the way it is scored. Now, this was a very interesting challenge because the Zimbabwe national anthem is notated using a Western scale. And so when we tried to play the national anthem with the normal traditional Mbira in whatever key, we could approximate the national anthem, but we couldn't reproduce it adequately. And this challenge had a date, which was that the best of that I had played by the age of national player. Unfortunately, the challenge was issued at least 6 months before. So we started to make prototypes of different kinds of instruments to see what would work. And in the end, naturally, it became clear that to play this music, we had to have a Mbira that had a chromatic scale. We made a Mbira of the same principle. And what was interesting is that when we finished the instrument, the craftsmen that I was working with, who are very proficient Mbira players, generally could only play the traditional songs that they played. And I realized that this was because they didn't understand, if you like, the Western musical principles of how this scale works. And so what I did is I went to a friend of mine who's a keyboard and piano player, and I gave him one of these things, and I asked him to produce a small any music and try to play with it. And after explaining the layout of the key, I was amazed that he could actually play just about anything he wanted. Usually most people sort of said, why do you need to change the mirror? The traditional instruments, yes, and I had nothing to ever say. Things have to change. If you don't change the new song, somebody will change it. Realized that I couldn't do the traditional during samples, so I went to the police band. Because we've done some other projects with them in the past, because their musicians are formally trained and they're very, very experienced because they have to perform regularly. And in fact, one of the things they have to do is learn, usually at very short notice, the national anthem of any visiting dignitary. And so they're very versatile. And so I gave them these years, and I think within the first afternoon, they could play the national anthem. The only thing that was outstanding, which they had to work at, was the playing technique, because it couldn't be played like in traditional Mbira, and the music was very different. So once you take four, four, and I think use one way that very clean. I think that the development of the chromatic Mbira is very interesting. And I think it's got a huge potential for music education in this country, because I think that with the chromatic Mbira, kids can learn universal music theory on a traditional instrument. And after they have the universal theory, they can translate their knowledge of the music curriculum that they have in the schools. They can learn that and then be able to transpose the skills onto playing in traditional instruments. I don't think that one takes from the other. I think it just enriches the cultures have always been articulated from the point of view of ethnomusicologists or anthropologists. And this body of literature has become the way that non-Western societies are defined, and in some cases that non-Western societies begin to understand themselves. I think it would be a very odd thing, for example, if all of Western music or Western culture or Western history was written in the eyes of Africa. I think that instead of Africans defining themselves from being the objects of study, they must create the studies of what they should be studied about from their own intellectual efforts. Self-awareness is changing, and there's a realization that some of what we have is very useful and it's very good, and can be used to make Zimbabwe a better place. Also, if you look at this whole question of indigenization, self-pride, national identity, and everything, I think that it becomes inevitable that the country addresses its own cultural heritage and finds out a way of getting it integrated into national development. Um, I I have no doubt that this knowledge will take great long to develop in Zimbabwe. I think the question is really how fast, when.